Hi, my name is JP Kurikka and I am a wannabe board game designer. Today I'm going to show you how you can make your tabletop simulator games a bit more playable, a bit more usable using snap points. Snap points do not require any programming skills or coding whatsoever. So they are very easy to use and a nice little way to make your games easier to play in digital environments. Here we are in Tabletop Simulator where I have a few components from Flipping Bomber. Flipping Bomber is a game design of mine, work in progress at the moment, that I'm going to use to participate later this year this one card design contest. That's a totally another story there. But when I have all my components in Tabletop Simulator, I can start playing and move my player pawn around this area. In this game, I should always position my player pawn in center of the squares. But as you can see, it's quite easy to misplace this pawn between two squares. So, of course, it would be nice if we could somehow force this pawn to go always on the center of the squares. For that, we are going to use snap points. You can find snap points on the toolbar on the left. It's the bottom tool here, last one here. And when you click the point, you should see the magnets tool selected, which means that you are using snap points. And snap points are points that you can place on the table, like so. If you re-click on that point, it gets removed. And now I can click them here, and if I move any component there, it gets snapped on the point quite easily. So we want to make these snap points on the card, not on the table. So let's remove everything. One thing you should notice that if you click on the card, anywhere on the card, the snap point always goes in the center of the card. This is because this card is not locked, and if I put the snap point there and move the card, let's check where they are. The snap point stays on the table, not on the card, which actually means that I can move any component on that snap point, like so, even the card itself, like so. But in this case, we of course want this card to have these snap points, so we remove that one from there and we lock the card in this position. So right click, toggles, and lock. Now we can position our snap points on the card. You see that it's quite hard to get these really in the center of the square. So I usually use this method that I have a cube or any other component. I place it where I want that snap point to go, because the snap point always goes in the center of the component that is not locked, like so. Then I use this gizmo tool to move the component exactly where I want it to go, like this. Place new snap point there, move this again, and so on and so on and so on. A bit slow, but you see that they are quite nicely at the center of the array there. So, but for this case, I'm just going to put all these about in the center of the squares. Now, if we unlock this card, toggles lock, we can move it around anywhere. And we see that every component snaps quite nicely to snap point, so I can no longer place these components between the squares. That was the intent all the time. So this is the basic functionality of snap points. There's one feature that you might want to know. If you don't want all the components to snap to the same points, you can tag them. So I right click on the snap points. I can add new tags. I have my palm tag already present here. I select it. Oops. Now I removed this by accident. My pawn there. My pawn there. Okay. And now we can see that this pawn snaps to everything, but this cube does not snap to the snap points that have this tag set, because those snap points only affect components that have tag my palm selected. The basic usage of snap points is that you can make any component snap in the place where you want that component to be. That really makes most of the games that you make in Tabletop Simulator much more playable, because it's usually very hard to get every component where it should be. It's much easier in physical world, where you can take the component by hand and place it on the right place. But in digital environment, it's sometimes very hard to do. But that's not all. You can further use more complex snap points called rotate snap to also rotate the components in right position. Let's see another example from another of my game designs. Here we are again in Tabletop Simulator. This time we are looking at my game design called Jewel Exchange. Jewel Exchange is old game design of mine, but I'm using it to participate this two-player game design contest that is currently ongoing in BGG. One functionality of this game is that we have this 3x3 grid of cards, and I should place a card from my hand on this grid horizontally. So of course I can use keyboard to rotate it like this, and then I can rotate it again another way around. But I can make this much easier if I use snap points. So again, we select point tool, and this time we select rotate snap. This is a similar snap point that we used earlier, but you can force the component put on the point to have specific rotation. So when I place this here on this existing card, it goes on the middle. Then I can force the rotation by 15 degrees at a time. So clicking 6 times, make it rotate 90 degrees. So like this, like so. And now when I put a card on top another card, you see that it automatically rotates in the correct position. Of course, I can rotate it back on correct position, but whenever I put a card there, it rotates horizontally. So again, this makes playing this game much easier in Tabletop Simulator. It always naps in correct position here. So now I have showed you two ways how to use snap points. You can make them rotating or just to snap object on the place. But there's still one thing that I want to show you how you can use this. In my game, Hackapad, I'm currently using this kind of trackers for privacy and action points and initial turn. So I have these sliders here that you can move around. So I want to do something like this on Tabletop Simulator environment. Let's see how we can use snap points to achieve something like this. Here we have the basic components that we use for tracker. We have our card here and we have the knobs here. So first we want to lock this card on position, toggles, lock. Now I cannot move it anymore. And we place our knobs here like so, about in the position that where the values are. Okay, so let's rotate this one a bit. Like so, and like so. And now we just start putting snap points in position. So if I click here, it goes on the center of the knob. Now I use this gizmo tool to move this knob here and add new point there. I want to add points also there and there. Then I use gizmo tool to move this, okay, like so. This one, like so. Of course, I could use this position coordinates here to move it exactly on the right position, but usually this is good enough for me that it's about in right position. I put points there. Like this. Now we have our slider here that snaps quite nicely in correct position whenever I want to change the value that I'm tracking. So this is one way how to use these points. That's it. I've shown you 3 possible ways how to use snap points in Tabletop Simulator to really enhance the user experience. Snap points are easy to use tool that does not require any coding or programming experience, and it really makes the games become more playable in this digital environment. Hey, that's all for today. If you like the video, click like, click subscribe if you like to get notified whenever I make new video. And thank you for watching. See you next time.